That morning, before leaving the house, I had thought about surprising my wife. Claudia had been saying for weeks that she was stressed at work, that her meetings were endless, that the company was squeezing her to the last drop. Like a good husband, I thought I would make her feel that I still value her, that I am here, that I love her. I ordered her favorite meal and picked it up myself so that she would feel special. He picked up the bag proudly, like someone picking up a gift wrapped in gold. He walked down the corridor of that building with the smile of a man who believes in love. But when I opened the door to his office, the air touched me. It wasn't the scent of pâté or peanut sauce. It was the pungent smell of fresh printer ink, mixed with something else, something that made me pause for a moment before I understood. My wife, my partner, the woman I would give my life for, was secretly romancing Ricardo, the sales manager, looking like a teenager, with his ridiculously shiny hair, looking like something out of a cheap hair gel commercial. This was not an innocent kiss. This was not a shy touch. This was not passion. This was not shamelessness. This was the kind of kiss that ruins marriages and destroys any kind of trust. I was stunned. My heart started pounding against my ribs, and yet, with an almost absurd calm, I picked up the bag of food and said, "How's it going? We'll share the potato. Would you like me to come back when you've practiced tongue fencing?" Claudia opened her eyes as if she had seen a ghost. Ricardo did not. He looked at me with irritation, as if I had stolen a moment of his pleasure. "Move," he growled, taking a step toward me. I looked him up and down and laughed an incredulous laugh. "Excuse me, are you the husband here? Because as far as I can remember, I've been the one sitting in that spot." In the blink of an eye, Ricardo had me against the wall, slammed my legs against my armpits, and dropped me like a sack of cheap potatoes. My body fell to the ground with a thud, and she, my wife, laughed. She laughed like a witch reveling in someone else's misfortune. That laugh was a dagger, an echo that still wakes me up at night. At that very moment, something inside me snapped. That voice was the switch. It wasn't pain anymore, it wasn't sadness, it was determination. No, they won't get away with this. I slowly stood up with dignity. I dusted myself off, gathered up what little pride I had left, and walked away. I didn't say anything, I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just smiled, because the betrayers expect slander, they expect pleading, they expect tears, and I gave them nothing. That same night, Claudia sent me a message. "We need to talk." Translation: "I'm so scared because you have no idea how much you can lose." I replied calmly, "Sure. Tomorrow." Translation: "Sleep well, Judas." I didn't know that the building was partly owned by my cousin. That meant there were security cameras. That meant everything was recorded. Her kisses, her caresses, her betrayals. Trusp had already saved that scene as if it were an episode of a cheap soap opera. The next day I returned to her office. I walked in whistling like someone coming in for Sunday breakfast. "Good morning, darling. You've recovered from yesterday's workout." She stared at me. "What do you want?" I leisurely pulled out the USB. "Nothing complicated. I just wanted to ask whether HR prefers photos or videos when looking into harassment cases. Because I don't think kissing your married boss during work hours is written in the employee manual." Ricardo was stunned. Claudia's face turned pale. Smiling, I said, "Don't worry, I'm not here to ruin you yet. I just wanted to give them a choice." And then the big day arrived, the company's annual gathering. A beautiful room, evening gowns, bottles of champagne, speeches on honesty, teamwork, family values, and me waiting for that perfect moment among the guests. The lights dimmed, the projector turned on, and there were Claudia and Ricardo in glorious HD, devouring each other like the actors in a cheap perfume ad. The silence was deathly. A glass fell to the floor, and then all eyes turned to them. And then the first slow clap turned into a standing ovation. It was for me. I went to the podium, took the microphone, and calmly said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to remind you that those who talk about loyalty at work should learn to practice it at home as well. Enjoy dessert. I recommend the cheesecake. He never misses." On Monday, Ricardo was suspended. Claudia was fired. And that same day, I signed the divorce papers. clean, precise, and efficient. The last drop was to donate all of her designer shoes, which she loved more than me, to a charity sale. Seeing her luxury heels sell for $1 a pair was priceless. Weeks later, I saw her in the supermarket. Dark eyes, worn out, instant noodles, and cheap cereal in hand. "I wish you were happier," she spat. "Happier," I calmly replied. "You always said you wanted a man who would blow you away in love." Well, Ricardo did that 3 seconds ago when HR blew her off. She stormed off in anger. I bought some ice cream, Sabor Victoria, and that's how I learned the big lesson. If you're going to cheat someone, don't do it in front of security cameras. And if you're going to laugh at someone in their bad times, make sure they're not smarter, more calculating, and more malicious than you. Because revenge is best served cold, and it tastes even better with a spark. This was a very deep and thoughtful warning, but it became an experience for me. People often think that when someone is going through a bad time, that person breaks down, gives up, and compromises with life. But they made me forget this. The day they laughed at my weakness was the day they wrote their own defeat. Because I swore that my revenge would not be in tears or screams, but in cold, calculated steps, that I didn't do it right away. I waited. For years. Because revenge is only good if it takes time to ripen. I remained silent from outside, but from inside I collected every insult, every humiliation, every piece of laughter. People thought that I had forgotten, that I had accepted defeat, but in reality, I was planning my moves. And this was their biggest mistake. They mistook my silence for weakness. I saw their strengths, their weaknesses. Where they were unaware, where they were blinded by greed. Slowly, I created such opportunities that their own moves turned against them. Those who thought that they would make me fall laughing, they themselves became the ladder for me. I used their own words, their own weapons on them. They did not understand when their safe house came under my feet. This was the real fun of revving, not in hot anger, but in cool planning. When they thought that everything was fine, then I made the first move. When they thought that their victory was certain, then I pulled the ground from under their feet. And the sweetest moment came when their eyes flashed the same fear and surprise that they had once laughed at in mine. Yes, revenge is best served cold. And when it has a spark, that tiny spark, that unexpected moment, it tastes even better. Because then the enemy understands that his end did not come suddenly, but slowly, in a planned way, at the hands of the very person he once thought was a joke. And me? I was looking in the mirror that night. There was no anger, no regret. Just satisfaction. The satisfaction that I had never let my insults get the better of me. I had turned them into a weapon. And now, when their laughter had died down, my face was calm, but there was a fire in my eyes that only those who had once thought me weak could see, because revenge, when served cold, is not just the fire of hate, but the victory of the soul. And the taste of that victory is deeper and sweeter than every laughter, every insult.